So welcome everybody. My name is Paul Holden and I'm the President and CEO of the Burnaby Board of Trade. And thanks very much for joining us today. Before we start, I would like to acknowledge that we are at the Burnaby Board of Trade on the traditional homeland of the Hunkaminam and Skohomish speaking people. And we're very grateful for the opportunity to host this event on this territory today. In the event today, Erin Guillen of the Better Business Bureau will speak on the subject of top scams that are affecting businesses today. All types of scams, on how to avoid specific scams, and as well resources on the subject area, and answer any questions that you might have. I'm sure we've all seen potential scams coming our way over a period of time, and Erin's going to point us in the right direction for how we can avoid getting caught out. Before we start, I'd like to thank our event sponsors. This event is delivered as part of our Centre for Business and Workforce Development, and I think you can see. Hopefully you can see the logos of the sponsors, but the sponsors are at the platinum level, the BCIT School of Business and Media, Alexander College and Electronic Arts. And the gold sponsors are Hemlock Printers, Ricoh Canada and Simon Fraser University. So thank you to those organizations for supporting the work for our Centre for Business and Workforce Development program. For those of you not familiar with that, just very quickly, that centre does produce a lot of the work, such as webinars, such as the one that you're attending today, on kind of industry best practices and training for businesses. But it's also the home of our workforce development program, which is called Burnaby Works, which is a unique and very much industry sector leading program to address some of the challenges that many businesses are facing around the area of workforce development. I'd also like to thank our annual partners, who are the organisations who support the work that we do throughout the year. I know you can see their logos, but I'll acknowledge them anyway. At the platinum level, we have Alexander College, the BCIT School of Business and Media, the Burnaby Now, Parkland, and Simon Fraser University. At the gold level, we have ABC Recycling, BD Developments, Electronic Arts, Pacific Blue Cross, and Scotiabank. And at the silver level, we have Appia Development, Fortis BC, Pacific Link College, Prospera Credit Union, the Port of Vancouver, and Trans Mountain. So thank you very much to those organisations for the work that they do to support us throughout the year. So before we begin, I'd like to invite one of our platinum partners, Phil Raymer, Associate Dean, Operations Management from the BCIT School of Business and Media, to say a few words of welcome. Phil, hi, and over to you.
Thank you, Paul. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the BCIT School of Business and Media, welcome to this webinar on top scams targeting businesses. BCIT Business has been a long-term partner of the Burnaby Board of Trade. BCIT Business and Media is one of the largest business and media schools in Western Canada, with over 30 full-time programs, 80 flexible learning programs, and 300 courses. Our graduates shape the world around them, from financial management and marketing to operations management and analytics, and broadcast to new media. For 60 years, BCIT Business and Media has been recognized as the premier provider of applied business and media education in BC. Today's webinar topic is very relevant for me personally. It seems that every other day I receive some sort of email that tries to engage me in a scam. So I look forward to today's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. And again, thanks very much for your support of the work that we do. We're going to start the presentation in a moment. If you do have any questions during the presentation, please enter those in the Q&A section at the bottom of your screens, and we'll save some time at the end to answer those questions. Before I introduce our presenter, I'd like to turn it over to Nisha Hoti, a Burnaby resident. Nisha is joining us today as the Director of Marketing of the Better Business Bureau of Mainland BC. She also runs her own boutique agency, Niche, for over a decade, specialising in communications, public relations and event properties. With over 17 years in the business, she's worked with the Olympics, the Junos, TELUS Story Hive, the Bay, BC Summer Games and many more. Nisha, over to you.
Thank you so much for having me. I just wanted to tell everyone a little bit more about the Better Business Bureau. And I think we've all seen it. You've seen the BBB seal on a storefront or an advertisement, and you know it's the sign of a better business. And that's literally what we're all about: recognizing, supporting, and celebrating better businesses. And like Phil said, whether we've seen it as a consumer or a business, we have all been there. A phone call with a special offer, a suspicious email, an irrelevant or fake review. We live in an age of disinformation where it takes the toll on us to do that extra bit of research to discern what to trust and what not to. And that is where the BBB comes in. So we are here to build a marketplace of trust that's more important now than ever. And how do we do that? Our bbb.org is one of the largest indexed websites in the world. So we have business profiles in almost every business out there that share vetted customer reviews. So you can't just write something because you didn't like it. It has to fit our criteria. Complaint resolution, get a quote services, and accreditation, which really comes down to setting yourself up above the rest if you are a business owner. I leave it there, but I basically just say that most people think of the BBB as a long time ago brand. And what I want to say is that it's actually more relevant today than it ever was before. So with that, I pass it back to Paul.
Thanks very much, Nisha. Again, thanks for your support of the event today. So I'm pleased to be joined by Aaron Guillen, who's the Media and Communications Specialist with the Better Business Bureau. On behalf of BBB, he presents to different community groups, including high school students, college classes, Rotary groups, RCMP, and senior groups using data collected from BBB branches across Canada and the US. He's passionate about media and communications and has more than 5 years in the journalism industry. Aaron brings his diverse skill set and storytelling passion to new opportunities in media and communications. So again, while Aaron is speaking, if any questions pop up, please put them in the Q&A box on your screen, and we'll get to those later. But Aaron, I'll hand over to you now.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you again to the Burnaby Board of Trade. This is very exciting to be sharing today with you. And just quick shout out, I noticed BCIT was a gold sponsor, BCIT grad over here. Great sort of seal, I think, as well as obviously the BBB seal. But let's get started with today's presentation as we're talking about the top scams that are affecting businesses. All right, so just a quick rundown on what we're going to be actually chatting about today. As Nisha sort of gave us a quick rundown about the Better Business Bureau, I'm going to go just a little bit deeper and then, tell about why we're here, why we're presenting this important information. And then we'll go into the top 3 riskiest scams that we're seeing affect businesses. We're seeing business email compromise. This is huge amounts of money, vanity awards, directory scams. We'll all talk about those details just a little bit later. And then we're going to have a quick sort of roundup about the value of accreditation and how BBB sort of works to show the sign of the better business, as you can see in my background here. And then we'll leave you with some resources, things that, we might be able to cover today, where you can do a little bit more research yourself. It's all about due diligence, I think, at the end of the day. And that's what we want to give to you and provide to you as we have our presentation. All right, moving right along. So yeah, whether you've seen the sign, this sort of seal that we have, the BBB seal, it means a lot in the community. And the reason why is because we actually have been in the community for a really long time. I wanted to open up the chat box just for a quick question that I wanted to pose to the group is we've been in the community, not only in Canada, but in the US for a long time. When do you think was the year that we opened our first BBB branch in North America? You can either say the year that you think it was opened, or you can also say how many years since we've been open. I will say it's more than 10. I'll give it a moment if anyone had any guesses that they wanted to say. I've got 1895. Wow, that is a really long time ago. We're close, but maybe just shooting a little bit over. Does anyone have any other guesses? I got 1956. It's older than 1956. I got 50 years. That would put us at what? 1983, I guess. We're even older. So, 1928. We're getting really warm. The answer is 1912. So that is 112 years. To put that into perspective, that is like Titanic time. So this is a long time that we've been in the community, not only building trust with our community, but with these local businesses. And that's why we find it so important to, bring back and reinforce the importance of sort of seeing the seal, seeing the Better Business logo accompanying with most businesses, because we like to think that, that does mean that it is a sign of a better business. So what does the BBB do? We will not bore you with all the minute details. I did want to hit on perhaps just 2 quick things, and then we'll hit on accreditation in the end. But the first one I did want to point out is dispute resolution. So what does that basically mean? That is, if you have a problem with, as a business owner with a customer, it gets sort of muddled really when we find with other sort of search engines, people who might not even be a customer of yours. Maybe it's your competitor that's giving you a poor review, and then that, and at the end of the day, might affect your overall grade. As Nisha was saying, when it comes to bbb.org with our own business profiles, we make sure that we're vetting these reviews and these complaints. So if someone clearly has a complaint, we have to make sure that they actually interacted with you as a business owner. Did they actually, make any sort of payment? And what are they looking for? Are they looking for a full refund, half refund? Maybe it's just an apology. They just want some sort of clarification on what's going on with this sort of business interaction. We find that when these customers come to us and they present their situations, we're able to resolve a lot of the time, within, I believe it's like 30 days, 30 business working days, where we have a chance to reach out to the business and say, hey, what's been going on with this specific customer? Either they can say, hey, this is something that actually happened, and maybe they misunderstood the clarifications of what the contract entailed. Or, you can say, okay, well, this customer actually never came to my business at all. This is completely falsified. Then we go, okay, well, clearly we don't have something to resolve here. Another part that we do is scam tracker. And that is that's a very important part of what makes presentations like today's possible, because it's a powerful part of our website where people can talk about the scams that they fell for or narrowly avoided. So bbb.org/scam tracker is a very, very powerful tool. Every single year, we release sort of a risk report talking about the top riskiest scams, and that's only available, and the stories that we share are only available thanks to Scam Tracker. This is a question that I just wanted to pose more as a rhetorical one, but also if you wanted to share in the chat, I did want to just sort of engage people and have people thinking, have I ever been scammed? Has that been something that's happened to me? When I ask this specific question to high school groups, I find a lot of people, in person at least, turn down their head. They don't want to make eye contact with me. There is still, unfortunately, a sense of shame. There's a sense of embarrassment, of guilt. How could I not be smart enough to catch the flags and catch those sort of, signals that this was a scam? How could I have done this? I should have known better. I should have been smarter. Here's the thing. Scammers are not only targeting older generations, they're targeting younger generations as well. This is across the board. It's not only business owners, it's high school students, it's seniors, it's your own parents. I mean, there is really no sort of realm where scammers cannot reach and target you specifically. So it's finding what will be targeting you and doing your best to make sure that you've done enough due diligence and research to be prepared for when you are targeted. So specifically when it comes to businesses, that's why we wanted to share this presentation today. So before we go into the top 3 riskiest scams we're seeing affect business owners, I did want to have sort of to pull back the greater picture to help you understand basically what we see in terms of risk and scams. So every single year we release a top 10 list. This might be a little bit confusing, understandably. There's a lot of numbers here. I was never a big math person, but it's actually quite easy to understand once you understand how we weigh risk. So this is the top 10 list. As you notice, cryptocurrency and investment is right at number 1. Probably no surprise there. Employment, though, has shot up on the list. It was, I believe, number 5 last year, and now it's number 2. And then home improvement, which was number 1, fell to number 3. Doesn't mean that it's not as risky, but still, these are the top 10 that we're seeing not only across BC, on the Lower Mainland, but also just across Canada in general. But back to the question, how do you weigh risk? We don't just throw all the different types of scam names into a hat and just pull it out and go, okay, romance is number 6, credit cards is number 9, assign them randomly to a number. We actually have a specific way that we weigh the risk. Number 1 is exposure, and that's in that dark blue column. Now, what does exposure mean? That basically means how often that we're hearing about it, how many times people are reporting it to us. So if you look at number 5 in the 5th column, online purchases, under the exposure, dark blue, it's 36.9%. That is more than a third of the reports that we received in this past year were just about online purchases. So this is a huge factor. In fact, it's the biggest portion of reports that we receive all about online purchases. I mean, that completely sort of checks with me. I mean, it's hard to be online and not maybe see an online purchase scam. And then the next column that we're seeing that we weigh risk is susceptibility. That's the light blue column. Susceptibility, what does that mean? That basically means the amount of times people fall for the scam once they are exposed to it. So if you go up to the 3rd column, home improvement scams, 84.1% in susceptibility. So 8 out of 10 people are falling for home improvement scams when they're exposed to it. Why do we find? I mean, I also obviously don't want to speculate, but we find that home improvement scams tend to be more in person. You know, you're getting a knock on your door. You're getting someone saying, hey, I was just in the neighborhood. There was a neighbor that I'm working on their roof or on their landscaping. I can come back tomorrow and, you know, just work on your property as well. All I need is a small deposit of, say, hey, $200-$300. I'll be right back tomorrow with all the equipment and my guys, and we're good to go. You give them the payment, and then they don't show up the next day. They ghost you. There's the scam. It's harder to say no in person. That's why we find the susceptibility rate is quite high in that specific scam. And then lastly, the last way that we weigh risk is the median dollar loss. It's really across the board from online purchases at 100 is the lowest, all the way up to our top one, which is cryptocurrency, more than $9,000. This is something that I do not want to be a part of, to lose $9,000 in a single scam. I mean, that's pretty brutal. I mean, not only as just an individual who's just, you know, working away, but if you're a business owner, I mean, falling for these sorts of scams can make a huge dent to your bottom line. You know, it might be the difference between staying in the black or going into the red. So these are just some scams that we wanted to bring up. We won't go into too much detail specifically about these ones, but we will be talking more so about the ones that are targeting business owners and your demographic. As we move on into the first portion of, or the first scam that we're seeing affect business owners, I did want to just remind people, if you do have any questions, we will be answering them at the end of the presentation. But if you wanted to leave a question in the chat, you are more than welcome to. Would love to sort of help answer any questions that come up, or any sort of issues or things that you're really curious and wanting to know about. So the first scam that we're seeing affect business owners is what we call business email compromise. Now, this is something that is quite popular. It's sort of a lot of people call it CEO fraud, and the reason why we call it CEO fraud is because you're hearing from maybe someone on your executive team who's reaching out to you. But before I go into the details, I just want to pull it back just again for a moment. In Canada, business email compromise scams are one of the top reported scams, according to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center. And they're also doing a lot of great work with scams. In 2022, they reported that they received reports of $47 million in losses just to this specific scam. So this is something that is on obviously everyone's minds, and something that should be looked out for, and looking for those specific red flags. So what is business email compromise? As I said before, we sort of see the words CEO fraud or business executive tied to this specific scam. The reason why is it sort of relies on a very targeted version of phishing scams. It's a very targeted tactic, and criminals are using this to sort of gain knowledge or to steal, you know, information or money from a business and their employees as well. They're going to be using existing business relationships between you and the person that you are receiving the email from. Maybe they're a close coworker of yours. Maybe they are on the executive team as well. At the end of the day, usually what we see is there's some sort of convincing the recipient to send money or share some sort of personal financial information in some sort of very time crunch, last minute nature effort. There was actually a local example, or more rather, maybe internal example with BBB that I wanted to briefly share. Just this past fall, BBB experienced a form of spear phishing internally. You know, when someone from our CEO on the International Association of BBBs had gotten a text message. Or rather, someone posed as the CEO of the International Association of BBBs, sending a message to one of the executive team members and saying, hey, we wanted to surprise some of the staff on this executive team with some gift cards. Let's make it quick. Let's make it simple. Buy a couple $100 gift cards and let's get this going. But this person on the team was contacted by a random number, but it was someone who was posing as the CEO. So knowing that he actually had the number and the email of the CEO himself, you know, this potential victim was not victimized, thankfully, and ignored the message, deleted the text, and just went directly to the CEO himself and said, hey, was this actually what you were asking for? And he said, no, I had no idea that this was existing. But, you know, this is a classic case that we hear so much about. You would be surprised when people act on emotion. People act on this sort of feeling of, I need to get this done right now. Maybe it's a feeling of excitement, you know, getting some sort of gift cards or something for a whole team, or maybe it's a last minute sort of worry, you know, if your CEO is contacting you and saying, hey, you know, we're in dire need of some funds right now. I'm overseas. I can't work on this right now. Can you send this, you know, this invoice or this information out to this specific person on the team? You know, you could potentially fall for that scam. So what are some red flags that we should be looking out for in these instances, especially, you know, as a business owner? So looking out for financial transaction requests. So for example, a scammer might pose as maybe a representative of a bank saying that, you know, you are behind in payments of some sort. Your line of credit is short and they need you to make a payment immediately, telling you to send maybe an e-transfer to this specific account. These situations are sort of, it seems out of sorts, and if you take a minute, you go, how could someone fall for this? But when you're really in the heat of the situation, that's when we find people are not taking, you know, 5 seconds, 5 minutes, five hours to go, hey, is this situation actually reasonable? Is it sensible? Does this actually check out? Does it make sense? And that's when we find people fall for these sorts of scams. As we were saying before, another red flag is spoofed emails from current employees. You know, someone who's posing maybe as someone that you know, someone that you already have that inherent built-in trust with, that's asking you for personal information to share, maybe about your own company. And then lastly, maybe an unexpected email that's requiring payment. We usually see the trend is maybe someone that's posing as a vendor of yours for your business, saying, hey, you're behind on payments. We didn't get the last invoice. So we're just double checking with you to see that it is paid and that is good to go. Or we want to switch the information from this one vendor to this specific email. Send all the money to this bank account instead. That's when you find people are not sort of, you know, crossing their T's and dotting their I's and doing the research to make sure, and their due diligence, that at the end of the day, it's actually who the person says they are. So how do you protect yourself in these situations? I mean, it seems like it's coming from left, right, and center. The first way is using some sort of two-step verification. So what do we mean by that? That is contacting the source by some sort of communication, whether that is by a phone call, a text, maybe a message on social media, some way to make sure that the request is legitimate. Don't rely on one method alone. If someone is just contacting you on a text message, just on an email, how are you able to trust that that is actually who they say they are? Have some sort of other way to verify that this is actually them. If you can't get in touch with them, maybe they're out of the country, you know, reaching out to someone who knows them, you know, having some sort of lifeline to get a hold of that person. Another way to protect yourself is to create a whitelist of trusted email addresses. Now, what do we mean by that? That means that you need to create an email list that basically ensures that this list of emails is trusted and won't be blocked or flagged because they're either from within the company or they can be trusted because they have some sort of built relationship with the business owner. Maybe they're a very trusted vendor. Making sure that you look at the details of email addresses. We find and we hear from business owners who submit reports to BBB Scam Tracker to go, I should have just looked a little bit closer at that one specific email that I got, because clearly there was a letter off, there was a number that was weirdly inserted. This actually looked very close to the vendor that I usually talk to, but it wasn't at all. And then lastly, focusing on employee education is very vital and very important that we find in these situations, because if your staff and your employees don't know what's going on with specific scams that could be targeting them, they're not going to be aware at all about what to do when they're faced with it. So, what does this look like? It looks like, updating maybe all your employee software on their laptops to make sure that they have top of the line protection against viruses. It's looking to make sure everyone has a trusted work mobile device, that this is their number and their number alone. If anyone contacts you from someone somewhere else and says that it's them, not listening to it or doing some sort of a verification to make sure that this is actually an authentic reach out and request. The next scam that we're seeing and we're hearing about is vanity awards. Vanity awards, I mean, it's an honor to receive an award anytime you're in the running for one. It's a very exciting time, understandably. But the reality is that there are vanity awards for basically every industry that is on the place of this earth. So just making sure that you're doing your research and understanding what is a legitimate award and what is perhaps an award that's just trying to get a little bit of money from you, pull at your sort of your purse strings, your wallet at the end of the day. So how does this sort of scam work? So a typical vanity award scam starts off with an email, either an email or a phone call. We received a report to our BBB Scam Tracker, and we have such a wide database, as I was saying before, not only in Canada, but in the States. And we heard one from the States, and this one was specifically from a business owner in Houston, Texas. I'm just going to read the quote and then maybe just explain a little bit about what happened in this situation. So this man goes, hello, and I hope you have a great day. This is an email that he received. Hello, and I hope you are having a great day. My name is Will. I'm emailing you to let you know that you have been selected for the 2022 Houston Best Award. For the next year, you will be promoted on our website. So anyone searching in the Houston area will find you. Here are all of the award details, and most importantly, this link where you will claim the award. And as I said before, yes, small business owner in Texas. So generally messages like these come with some sort of strings attached. So you must click on some sort of link to claim your award, and then they'll tell you, oh, well, you need to pay some sort of one-time fee to redeem this award, to be part of, the recipients, maybe some sort of recipient fee or nomination fee. And you'd be surprised how many people actually fall for this sort of thing. I was just going through my regular news, and I saw that there was another sort of situation in Boston where a business owner reported also to BBB Scam Tracker. He was and is a creator of sheds. He makes a lot of sheds. He does a lot of woodwork. And he was contacted by someone on a website saying, you have won this specific Best Shed Maker in Boston award. And in order to redeem your prize, you need to click on this link. He clicked on the link and found that he needed to pay for a plaque, and the plaque costed like 150, 200 bucks. Or he could also claim like a media package, and that included, a press release for him and a couple videos that he could post on social media, and that costed $1,500. Thankfully, this businessman caught it and reported it to us, to BBB Scam Tracker, and wanted to tell other people about it. So that's a good catch, but unfortunately, not everyone is like that. I mean, that's why we sometimes don't hear about specific scams. So how to protect yourself in these situations? I mean, this seems like it should be well known and reiterated, but hey, it's doing the research for the award rather. Type in the keywords of what they say the award is for. Maybe put in the name of the company to see any history of the award that is given out. Was it given out to maybe another competitor of yours that you're familiar with? Checking out the company, if they have a profile, on bbb.org just to ensure that this sort of offer is legitimate. What else? You can ask specific questions. Learn about, who is giving this award, where are they located, how long the award has existed, and why your business was selected as the winner as well. Sort of in tandem in that, it's knowing the nomination process. If you didn't apply for the award, why are you being given the award? I mean, we find this is also very similar in like sweepstakes and vacation sort of prizes. Is people go, oh, I won this lottery for sort of cruise ship scam, cruise ship award rather, and I go, well, did you at least submit your name? And they go, no, but they said that they had my name through some sort of Reader's Digest sort of thing. Very, very similarly, with a vanity award, if you're not putting your name in for this award, you're not putting any sort of contact information. Think about, how did they contact me? Is this a specific targeted scam where someone's trying to reach out to me, maybe just to stroke my ego? At the end of the day, we find a lot of people falling for this award scam, maybe have a tendency to, wants to build up their ego. And if you're not sort of keeping that in check, falling for these scams is pretty brutal. Lastly, double checking for payment requirements. As I said before, if there is some sort of payment associated with this, with some sort of nomination fee, application fee, sometimes there are legitimate awards that do have that, and there are some sort of cost to enter, but making sure that you're scrutinizing it, you're looking a little bit closer. If there is some sort of fee, making sure you're seeing where it's going, asking other people who have maybe applied for this themselves, is this common? Is this something that you've done before? What are the chances of, me winning? What are the criteria for me to actually be entered into this award? Because if you're just being given this award from out of the blue, who's to say that, you're one of, several dozen, several hundred people, business owners that are being targeted by these specific sort of vanity award scams. The last scam that we're seeing affect business owners is what we call a directory scam. With directory scams, so how this sort of scam works is it's targeting businesses and organizations of all sizes, really. But the main message is they're trying to be to fool the business owner into paying for maybe a listing or an ad space that is non-existent, some sort of non-existent directory, review site, blog, maybe even Yellow Pages as well, or someone posing as a fake Yellow Pages representative. And in some cases, the directory will technically exist, but might not be distributed to anyone, or the listing will be of very little or no value at the end of the day. So how this scam works is, you might receive a call from a scammer calling your company saying that they are from this sort of acclaimed or new up-and-coming business directory. And then when the scammer gets someone from the business on the phone, they'll claim to be updating the directory, asking for very basic information, and seeing what you're going to be sharing with them. They'll repeat back this information to you and prompt you to confirm the listing. We've heard of some very rare cases. This is not something that's common, but when a business is having their name on a directory or gets a phone call, they'll receive an invoice very shortly after for adding their business to this directory. And the business owner goes, I never agreed to have my name on this this directory. And the company, or this sort of fake impersonator, goes, well, you agreed to it. And they play back you saying yes to all these specific prompts that they've had you say. So if you're ever in doubt and ever feel the need to go, okay, this feels a little bit strange, this feels off, you have some sort of gut check, hang up the phone, stop replying back to that email, that text. I mean, you're in no place to have to comply with anyone who's calling you trying to get you to sign up with some sort of directory. I mean, it's all completely up to you, but understand that, we even hear of fake invoices as well. One specific one that I wanted to bring up was there was an example on Vancouver Island, just right over the water to us last spring this time, where a Victoria woman who runs her own skincare and sort of beauty business was contacted by a directory website that claimed to sort of be this new hub for craft supplies and handmade vintage products all over Vancouver Island. And they wanted to have this new business being added to their new directory. the directory contacted this representative, contacted the woman to pay for a full year, actually. She got her to sign up for a full year of premium advertising space on the website, as it was set to launch. The website was set to launch in the next coming sort of weeks to months. But then soon after, the business owner, she never heard anything back. She went to go check the website. It still hadn't been launched. She found out that all communication had been cut off and that the person contacting through the phone and the email had been disconnected. She was completely ghosted, and she ended up losing, it was just shy of $300 to this directory scam. So how do you protect yourself in these situations? Making sure that you are researching the company again. I mean, what we find is a lot, people are acting on emotion. People are acting on this excitement of, oh, I could be, have my eyes seen on a lot of new customers. People want to talk about me. There's a lot of sort of hype around these new sort of up and coming websites or blogs or directories potentially where I could be listed, but no one or very few are doing the research, finding if this business is reputable. Can you find them online? Do they have any sort of marketplace history? Do they have a physical location that you can visit? And then making sure you're cross-checking with sites like BBB and to see if they have any complaint history against them, any customer reviews, any contact information. Can you talk to someone and actually figure out if this is authentic or not real? And then another one is, training employees to ask questions. Because, hey, the reality of it is you're a business owner, you're busy, you might not have the opportunity to have a phone call with every single person that's trying to contact your business. Maybe this scammer is trying to call one of your employees or one of your coworkers. So in these cases, making sure you have these important conversations with your employees and your coworkers to say, hey, if you have this sort of call or this email, here's what to do in this situation. I mean, even internally with BBB, we receive so many phishing emails and so many sort of scam emails where someone's trying to get a contact of me saying, hey, this was an invoice that, we want approved and was overdue. Can you approve this and send us over the money? Delete. Can you put us in contact with someone who can give us more information on your financial situation, or your personal information was leaked. We need to confirm that it's okay and it's all good to go. Delete. I mean, these are common situations that you'd be surprised where some employees don't really know how to act, don't really know how to respond. So having these important sort of moments, and maybe even it's training and sitting aside a portion of time to go, okay, this is a problem that could arise and this is how to deal with it. Sort of tandem in that is creating a specific process on how to inspect an invoice. I mean, looking for, the key name to look out for, what may be the common amount that you're paying. Maybe if an invoice is normally for $500 to $500, but then it's being charged for $1,000, double checking with your vendor. Hey, is this the right price? Is this something that I can prevent from happening in the future? Doing your research, doing your diligence, looking for the small detail. Like it's true, the devil really is in the details at the end of the day. So before we move on to the resources that I wanted to share with you, I did want to have a brief conversation about accreditation. I mean, we talked about it just quickly at the start, but the value of accreditation and how it pertains to business owners, not only in the lower mainland, but also just across BC and into the Yukon, because that's our region. We help businesses sort of step into that sign of a better business as well. So one thing I wanted to point out here is that BBB, we've been working, especially in the past year or so, to really hone in on our key messaging for our BBB seal. The BBB seal, as you can see over here, it represents, more than accreditation with a nonprofit. The BBB seal is the sign of a better business. It has a certain level of standards that you abide by. I mean, when people see this, they know that you are a reputable business. They know that you are a trustworthy business. They know that you are honest. And those sort of important keywords are tied to the BBB seal because not only us being in the community for such a long time, but being able to build that trust. I mean, trust is so, so important, and it's something that is unfortunately a very rare commodity these days. Our research shows we've sent a survey out to a lot of our customers as well, consumers rather, and showing that 8 out of 10 times consumers are going to actually choose an accredited business over a non-accredited business, especially if they both have the same rating. On BBB profiles, we see that there's sort of a letter grading that you can get. It varies from A, B, C, D. I don't think there's an E. Maybe A, B, C, and F. I have to look into that, double check, but there is an F, unfortunately. And those are businesses that just, don't abide by certain codes and ethics and standards that we have set out, not responding to customer complaints, making sure that, your customers are happy. I mean, it seems like that's a very simple and basic form of what it means to be a better business, but some people don't meet that standard. When it comes to a survey that I mentioned that we sent out, we did find that there were 5 main reasons that business owners really valued accreditation. The first is that it increased the credibility of their business. Number 2 is that it showed integrity in their business practices, showing that they're willing to engage in consumer conversation, not only just finishing a single interaction and just ignoring someone if they have some sort of complaint, but I'm just trying to understand what's the problem here. How can we find a solution? How can we find some sort of resolution, some sort of explanation of what is going on? Thirdly, they found that it really built consumer trust in the brand. Number 4, they found that it increased their visibility as a reputable business, not only on their own storefronts, because we do have these attachments that you can put to the front of your storefront, on your website, anywhere that you sort of brand your business, there is some sort of aligned BBB branding that you can also add to that as well. But also on our BBB business profiles. I mean, it's a free part of our website where you can add your business to our directory. And this is not a directory scam. This is something that's completely free of charge. We don't charge you at all. If you want to have your business on bbb.org and it's not there yet, you can put it in there for free, completely for free, no charge. And then lastly, it just shows that they care about their customers. That's what a lot of these businesses said. So what business owners also like about BBB is that we find that having this sort of accredited business status on bbb.org is really strong because, as I was saying before, we have a whole list of businesses on BBB. It doesn't only mean that we're only sorting accredited business and saying these are the only ones that exist. The rest of them that aren't accredited, don't pay attention to them. We have non-accredited businesses on bbb.org because we want people to have the ability to do the research themselves, being able to compare and contrast. I mean, it's all very, very important of what we do and why we value our website and how it's built. Because as Nisha was saying, we have our customer reviews. We're making sure that these are vetted. I can't reiterate how important it is that, other sort of search functions, you cannot filter out certain reviews that are completely fraudulent. Someone that might be your competitor of yours, someone that might be a really upset customer that actually wasn't a customer at all. Someone that didn't have an interaction with your business, but for some reason has some sort of personal vendetta against you, posting all these, fake, really uninformed opinions about you. And thankfully, with BBB going to our website, we're making sure that it's authentic. We're making sure that it's something that can be vetted and genuine at the end of the day. If you have any sort of other questions that you wanted to share, feel free to put them in the chat as well. We would love to answer them when it comes to BB accreditation. But a portion of our website, you can see if you fall into the qualifications on what it takes to be accredited. We don't hand, this seal out like candy. This is a very specific set of standards that we want businesses to meet. And, we'd like to think that we have a great way of sort of making sure businesses can hit that standard. I did want to briefly open this up if anyone had any questions, and also hand this over to Nisha. Is there anything that you wanted to add about BBB accreditation that perhaps I didn't get a chance to highlight? I know we're always working on our branding and making sure people know what is and what we don't do, but yeah, anything you wanted to add?
No, I think you touched on most of it. I think that, like I said in the beginning, now more than ever, it's important to be able to differentiate between a business you can trust and one that you know will be reliable and effective and to keep your dollars in your pocket, right? And those that maybe are a little bit fly by night. And so we want to make sure that that consumers know who to work with, and that's where the BBB comes in. So if you are a business owner and you want to update your business profile, like Erin said, it is absolutely free, and we encourage you to do that. That way, a customer can find all relevant information about you there.
Perfect. And just one more thing I wanted to add about this is Nisha had this tagline is, how do you find out a business can be trusted in 5 seconds or less? I mean, looking out for some sort of some visual confirmation. And that is the seal. We like to think is, having a quick check. It takes a lot of research and we want you to do the research, but we also understand if you don't have the time, hey, looking out for that seal and knowing that if you see it, then you already have that inherent trust that's built in. Let's move on to the resources that I wanted to share with you before we end off today's presentation, just noting the time. We cannot cover every single scam under the sun, but thankfully we have our website that covers genuinely probably most of the ones that we're seeing right now. There's more than 30 different types of scams with the definitions and the tips to help avoid it. By going to bb.org/scam tips, you can find out things that you might be curious about that we didn't cover today. If you have questions, reaching out to us over email or by calling us as well. If there is one thing I wanted you to leave with this presentation today, if you got nothing from this presentation, one thing that's really, really important is if you fell for a scam or barely avoided one as a business owner, not being silent about it, reporting it, having these important conversations, because not only us, but the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center is doing really, really great work. And they have this study that recently says between 5 to 10% of people report fraud after it happens. We are seeing a tiny, tiny sliver of the grand picture. And this is really unfortunate, especially when it comes to business owners, because you're doing so much hard work as a business to keep your head above water and thrive. So if you're falling for these scams and not telling other people or telling these situations, we're having the same situations happen for the next generation of business owners that are coming up. So we need to make sure that we're reminding people and telling people about our stories, because without these stories, presentations like this don't exist. The data really just doesn't exist at the end of the day as well. So having the right people to talk to, obviously your friends and family, the trusted people in your life, but also we'd like to thank us as well, bbb.org/scam tracker, Canadian Anti-Fraud Center, Consumer Protection BC, and if it goes so far, RCMP as well. That sort of brings us to the end of our presentation. I did want to open it up for any questions if someone had that we didn't address today, but I will pass it back to Sarah and to Paul and to Phil as well to add anything if I've missed.
Thanks a lot, Erin. Some really good information there. And excuse me, I must admit a scam kind of, we've had quite a bit of that, messages from me to the team asking, could you go out and buy X number of gift cards from this outfit as for whatever. So we see that quite a bit, but we had one a few years ago and it was quite a long game they played. It was quite well done, where they called up and the person on our front desk answered, and the person said, "Oh, I'm from the company that services your office printer. Can you just confirm the product number or the copy on the front of the printer?" So the person did that, and they said, "Okay, that's fine. Thanks very much." And that was it. And about a month later, we got a call, and it was, "I'm calling about your printer, serial number, blah, 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 blah. It looks like it's time for you to get another printer cartridge. So if it's okay with you, I'll send one to you." And the person said, "Okay, that's fine." So at some point later, we got some really inferior looking printer cartridge in plain white box show up. And we get our printer cartridge as part of our contract, so we didn't need it anyway. And then a bit later on, an invoice showed up, and it was for almost $500 for something which probably cost $5. And then we ignored that, and then they phoned up to chase for payment. And I spoke to them and said, "Look, I know what's going on here. We're not paying." And then it escalated, and somebody more senior in the scam group, so to speak, got on the phone and said, "No, we need you to pay. You did ask for it." I said, "Look, I know what you did. We're not paying." They said, "Oh, okay." And then immediately they said, "Okay, well, could you send it back to us then?" So I said, "No, you can come and collect it, and we need someone to sign for it and what have you." But I can imagine a lot of people and we fell for it to an extent, but a lot of people then get following through and paying for it. So yeah, they're not all kind of quick, let's try and get the money quickly and then disappear. Sometimes they play a bit of a long game.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the long game, I'm surprised at the extent some scammers will go. But then when you think about one business, and then you multiply it across Vancouver, the mainland, BC, I mean, you're making a lot of money when you're investing this amount of time. And it's really unfortunate that
Yeah.
this happens. But I mean, hey, it's stories like that you're sharing today, Paul, that, maybe another business owner might cling on to and go, hey, I was just contacted to talk about my printer serial number. Hey,
Yeah.
hopefully you can prevent someone, just even one person, right?
Yeah. There were a couple of questions that were posted, which I know that Nisha answered, but I don't know if everybody sees the answers. So I'll just kind of share the questions anyway. And one of them was about, can people only complain about a business that is a member of the BBB, or can you complain to you about anybody?
And the way I answered that, I actually answered it wrong. So I'm glad you brought that up. You can complain about any business. So you can complain about a BBB accredited business or a non-accredited business. A BBB accredited business has made a commitment to respond to complaints. And so part of our ethos is really that it's the right thing to do. It doesn't mean that you agree with the complaint. It just means that a business should enter a dialogue with their consumers. And so an accredited business will absolutely respond. A non-accredited business, we will reach out to them and we will ask them to respond. We give them a 14-day window. If they don't do it the first time around, we give them a second nudge. And if in 30 days they don't respond, then it is unresolved. But we kind of have 5 categories. Resolved is that both parties are happy with the resolution. We can have answered, which basically means that they got an answer, but it wasn't really quite what the consumer is happy with. There's a third one that I can't remember, which is essentially we got a response, but it wasn't really a response to the issue at hand, unreachable and unresolved. And so absolutely, accredited or non-accredited, you can file a complaint about any business. I would like to clarify the difference between a review and a complaint. So review is feedback, positive or negative. You could say something about a business, and both are really good. Both are really important because when consumers come to bbb.org, they're looking for a bit of a history around a business and they want to understand, what is this business all about? So you share the good and the bad. A complaint is where you're specifically looking to the BBB to help get a resolution. So is work unfinished? Is the quality not what was agreed upon? Are the contractual terms were not fulfilled? Are you looking for a partial refund for some reason? You're looking for a specific resolution, which is where we come in and help try to make that happen. So I just share that because I think sometimes people take their personal feelings and file them as a complaint, which may not really result in, we may not accept as a formal complaint because there's nothing we can really do about those.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the clarification. And the other question was about the pricing and assuming that there's some kind of a tiered pricing, and do you have to pay every year or is it a one-off accreditation fee?
Right. So accreditation does have different pricing based on the size of your business. And so if anyone is interested, I would say just send me an email and I can get more information to you. There is an application fee, which is a one-time fee. And then after that, we do review accreditation annually. And the reason for that is because businesses change and we want to ensure that you are consistently meeting our 8 standards of trust, which is what you need to meet to be BBB accredited. This is not just you can't apply and it's not automatic. There's actually an application process and we review the business, and that is how we ensure that you are kind of up to the standards that we apply. And so you can do payment terms where you are paying monthly. You can do a one-time payment for the year. And so, or you can do 2 years at a time. So the max we do is 2 years at a time. And so again, lots of options, and I can share those with you on a case-by-case basis.
Thank you, Nisha. Just before I wrap things up and bring them to an end, last chance for any questions. If I see them while I'm starting to wrap up, we'll kind of revisit them. But thanks a lot, Aaron. That was great. Thank you for sharing that information. It is something that we're all coming across on a daily basis. And I guess the key to it is a couple of the key takeaways that I got from that. Well, one, do your due diligence before you start responding to things and giving any information away. But I think one that's really important is making sure that your colleagues and employees are aware of some of these potential scams so that they don't fall for them themselves. Again, thank you very much, Aaron. Nisha and Phil, thank you for your participation and support today. We appreciate that.